This is Dave McCain with the Right Tree Genealogy doing another video, a clarification and tips video on the Discover More. So let's go over to the kit. It's going to show at the bottom of the screen to change your EKA information if you haven't done it recently. If you have done it recently, we still need to have it in a proper format. In your account information under genealogy, you need to have your EKA in the format as it defines here in the example. That's for the EKA information. Still do your tree properly. If you know what city and what town and where they were buried and all those things, that's what your tree is for. For the EKA information, for this algorithm and this additional testing they're doing and using it for verification so that it has the best chance to grab it correctly and help us develop where each SNP was formed. Live example here is I have my earliest known ancestor's birth of 1832 and death in 1911. Now this is confirmed information. There's additional information beyond this, but this is confirmed. They want this to be your actual known information, not your speculation information. So that's tip number one. So now let's go into tip number two. Last week's presentation, I showed this slide. It's nice when you're able to have your timelines on the time tree will represent better if you have each SNP broken out. But there are some of those blocks, and here's three examples here, where there are additional SNPs in that same block. And I'm going to show you how to pull those up and then the clarification. So this is what you do to get these. When you go into your Discover More or Discovery More beta, the first thing that shows up is your terminal SNP. That's fine. And then I go in, I say, I'm going to take a look at the time tree. So this is what I showed last week. Here's the time tree as it still is represented today. Nothing has changed for my dates yet, so I'm not going to go into details on those. But what I do want to point out is on what I just showed a few moments ago, the FT29222 on that chart I showed had two equivalents. Well, this time frame represents one of those two. We don't know which one. Let's prove to ourselves that this timeline block could be either one of them. You notice here it says 1433 to 1780. Well, let's go up and take a look. Here's the trick. Here's another tip. You can actually look at any SNP instead of just your terminal SNP by backing it off. So you're starting here. If you notice here at the top of the page, it says my defined terminal SNP. Well, if you back this off and have it this way, it gives you to where you can key in another SNP than what you already had defined. So let's go in and key one in. So what I've done here is I've keyed in the FT294407, which is in the same block as the 29222. When I hit show information for this one and hit show my report, it maps to the FT29222, and that's because each one of the blocks are represented by a SNP chosen by FTDNA's algorithm and by their phylogeneticist. It's going to show the exact same timeline that I just had, that I pointed out before. So again, the block is representing one of the two that's in it. The one that's shown is the head or lead SNP that they have defining the block, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it is the one that's going to fit within that time frame. What's really expected here is one of them is going to be closer to its child or its downstream SNP, and the other one's going to be back closer to the upstream SNP. So as you can tell, even though it says FT29222, it's actually representing at this moment, until we're able to get a tester to break that out, it's also representing FT294407. Let's take a look at another one of those examples here. Same type of thing. So I'm bringing this chart back up for a very specific purpose. And that one more is this Y58551. The reason I'm showing this one is twofold. One, it shows how it's going to map to, again, to the FT31442 on the time tree. but it also has another special feature here that I'm going to give a tip or information for. We do our trick again. I'm deleting this off and hitting enter. Go straight to this page that you can key in that other snip. So I'm going to type it in now. When I type in that other snip from that block, you see the following. Hit show. This is another little trick, tip, information. You can see if this particular snip is a reoccurrent by this block. This particular case, the Y58551, is actually in two separate haplogroups. And then the one that matters to my project and to my terminal snip is FT31442. This kind of shows you that reoccurrence does happen on SNPs, not common, but this can actually come up when you type one in, and you're just going to select the one that's associated to yours. But it's kind of an extra nice little tip information that you see that, hey, this is reoccurrence. You click it, and it mapped to the FT31442. And we hit the time tree here, and as you can tell, the red dot represents, I didn't say that a few moments ago, the red dot represents the one you're looking at now. And it says that time frame is the mean, which I tell everybody to look at, and I still tell everybody to look at, is 1377. Not every one of them would map inside the range, but it represents all of them now because they don't know which one's which. One of them, with confidence of 95%, is going to tie to its child, the FT 27902. One of them is going to go further back in time and may still be in the same timeline, and then the next one could be outside that one. Yes, all of them map to the same timeline, the 95% confidence and the same mean. They could fall within that same block, but it's also very plausible, especially if you have more than two, that one of them is going to go outside that current estimate and the other ones are going to go to within that same estimate time frame, closer to their downstream. So hopefully this clarifies and gives you tips that will help you going forward. If you like this content, please click here to subscribe. Watch these other content, particularly this video goes and shows you the last video that this one is clarifying and giving additional tips to. Thanks for watching. Let's continue learning together.